saying, fourth largest? Anybody want to guess? Anybody want to guess in the chat? Sometimes people say, 20,000. Some people say 30,000. Fourth largest. What guesses? 35,000. Okay. A little higher than that. Any other guesses before we switch? 50,000, 40,000. Close to 60,000 students. So FIU has around 58,000 students overall enrolled. It is a huge university. Like I said, the fourth largest in the US, and it is a public institution, which is kind of nice because you get all of the traditional access and resources that you would get at one of those large state universities that you see on TV, that traditional like 4-year university you see on the shows and in the movies. But you're also in Miami, which is not a college town. Because when you step off of campus, you have our downtown district, you have our arts center, you have the beach. So it's cool because you're not just isolated to a university campus, but when you step off of campus, you have access to all these resources. Miami is actually considered like the capital of Latin America and the Caribbean because it's a direct flight basically from everywhere, right? Like think of all the major cities. Like if anybody in the presentation in the room before has ever been to Miami, you likely have gone direct. You've likely flown direct, and you can fly direct from Buenos Aires, from Rio de Janeiro. You can fly direct from the Bahamas, from Jamaica, from Trinidad, from a lot of places. So, we have a really diverse population as a result. Florida in and of itself is actually ranked the #1 state in the US for higher education by US News and World Report. So that's kind of cool. There's 12 public universities in Florida. And out of those 12, guess who was ranked #1? By you, just saying. So it's something we're proud of, obviously, right? That's why I'm talking about it. Because we are a young institution, right? So I love that, yay, exactly. So we are a young institution, but we have a lot to offer. 96% of the professors at FIU have the highest degree possible in their field. So you're learning from experts. It's not somebody who did one cool thing and got a degree 40 years ago, right? It's somebody who has to be active in research, need to be contributing to the community. And they're using the classroom almost as like a space to gather more information and to gather more data. I was an English major at FIU for my undergraduate degree, and you better believe I still had to do research. I'm like, I'm an English major. Why am I doing this right now? But you have to learn the skill set, and that's going to help you with your employability. It's going to help you with just like your opportunities in the future. It's something you're going to use throughout the rest of your life. So being a big research institution, even if you're an arts major or something in the humanities, is going to come in really, really helpful later on. So I'm going to switch over to the next slide because I did want to talk about some of our programs and their rankings. I'm not a huge fan of rankings because who's ranking who, right? And what does that even mean? But there are some things that we're really proud of. So I do like to highlight them. For instance, our marine bio program, we have the only underwater laboratory in the entire world. So you can do marine bio in a lot of schools and you're going to learn it in a different way every time. If you're going to be in the Northeast, those are cold waters in the Atlantic Ocean. If you're going to be in the Pacific Northwest, that's also a very different type of body of water. In South Florida, in Miami, you're close to the Atlantic. You have the Gulf of Mexico, you have the Florida Keys, you have the Caribbean Sea. So there's like a lot of different opportunity for you to gain exposure, experience, and to research. So having that laboratory as a part of FIU's facilities is really cool. About 30 days out of the year, NASA will send astronauts down to the Keys to train down there, since zero gravity, right? They're practicing that. So they get to learn kind of what it is to be in like a fake spaceship. And the rest of the time we use it for research. Hospitality is huge at FIU as well, just because again, we're in Miami. So hotels, cruise ships, 3 of the 3 largest ports in the world are all in South Florida, Port of Miami, Port Everglades, Cape Canaveral. So it's a pretty big deal. And you're going to find people coming in all different ways to South Florida. So hospitality is a big one for us, and business. So real estate research is in our College of Business. International business is a big one for us as well. We're top 10 in almost every area of business at our institution. And again, it's because Miami is a metropolitan city. So lots of international commerce coming in and out of South Florida. So it makes sense. when you start looking at institutions, start thinking about what their region and what their area is excelling in or has access to. And that's likely what those schools are going to be focusing on when it comes to their resources, right? So again, we're on the coast, we're good at marine, we're in a metropolitan city, we have real estate, we have international business. Those are just things that are a byproduct of our environment, and we end up excelling in those as a result. I'd also really love to know what programs you all are interested in. So if you'd like to share that in the chat, that would be really helpful, just so I can make sure I touch up on those things. Any questions you have at all as well, don't be shy. We're answer questions. Like, I can talk about FIU. You have someone also, like, even just, going over what it's like education in the US overall, right? That's really, really important to understand, visa processes, to understand what resources you have available to you as a Jamaican student. So now's the time. This is your platform. So I mentioned College of Business already. I did want to talk about architecture really quick because it's a 5-year program at FIU, which is not normal. You'll normally find a degree is 4 years, but at FIU it's 5 because you graduate with a master's. Most of the time, it's really hard to be an architect without that master's degree. So, part of your senior project, you're building this design, you have to pitch an entire concept. Oftentimes those get built throughout our city. So if you'll go throughout the city of Miami, some of the public spaces, you'll find there'll be a plaque or something on it that says, like, this was designed by XYZ team, and it'll have your name on it at FIU. So it's kind of cool because we even have a space on our campus. It's called the Sky Lounge. Highly recommend you look it up. It was truly just a senior design project, but we're a public university, right? So City of Miami was like, hey, that's kind of neat. Let's use it. And they made a public space in between one of our buildings using the designs that our students made. So somebody graduated from FIU, like 21 years old, with an installation, like an entire project being brought to life already. That's insane. Which is, again, a part of being in a research institution, is you have access to resources like that. Depending on what your ultimate goals are, that's a pretty big deal. Engineering, wall of wind. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of hurricanes before. I think you might somewhat be familiar with that. We always talk about our weather there's 2 seasons, summer and hurricane. And it's truly because being in the tropics, that's something that we're very familiar with. So we've prepared ourselves. Our research when it comes to like mechanical, civil, biomedical engineering surrounds our community, right? So we're going to do hurricane research. This wall of wind generates up to Category 5 hurricane winds. So we're testing buildings, we're testing infrastructure, we're testing the impact it has on the environment. We want to make sure that as new technology comes out, we're keeping our community safe. So we're preparing students in that way, and we're preparing our community in that way. We have one of the leading scientists for prosthetic arms. So in our biomedical engineering program, you can do anything from like creating vegan makeup to creating prosthetic arms. Biomedical engineering is so vast because you're using, just like you're using what you know from biology, right? And you're figuring out how to make it work for you based on your interest. And we have the facilities for it. So there's times where I talk to students and I'm like, wait, you're harvesting organs to see if you can repair them using XYZ like materials. I'm like, that's in our campus? What? Like, and you're not a medical student, you're biomedical engineering. Like, it's really crazy what you can do when you decide what your interests are. And a part of being at a school with resources like FIU is you just talk about them, talk about what your goals are. If somebody can help you get there, that's our goal, right? So it's kind of cool. We mentioned hospitality already, so I won't go into that too much. But lots of great ways for you to contribute to things like the South Beach Wine and Food Festival. It's the largest food festival in the world. It used to be the FIU Wine and Food Festival, and then it was purchased out by Food Network. So it's neat because you have those interactions. Even if you're not a hospitality student, you can volunteer, drive the golf cart, because you might be driving the VIP chef from one tent to another. Those are the things that you're doing day to day that you get paid. Those are paid internships, but you also get that interaction and that access to, the ground level of a really, really cool event that you can't experience anywhere else. Quickly go over the application process. I did come in a little late, so I'm sorry that I'm rushing through this, but please know that you have the entire presentation to ask questions and I will answer them. So I see some stuff in the chat already and I'm excited to get to that. But overall, the admissions process is pretty straightforward. It doesn't seem like anybody shared what programs they're interested in, but that's fine because I changed my major 4 times. So maybe no one in the room knows what they want to study. That's okay with me. But overall, the general process is You submit an application. And then if you are a freshman, all you need to do is have your high school send us your transcripts or your test scores, and your test scores, I'm sorry. So your high school can send us any CAPE results, any CSEC results. If you don't have any of those, and they can send us whatever curriculum, whatever transcript that you do have. And then you have to take the SAT or ACT. Either of those is acceptable. There's no preference, but we do need one of them. All of the public universities in Florida require SAT or ACT, so that's going to be a part of the process for sure. And then based on that, we'll be able to determine what your admissions term will look like. Let's say you don't get into FIU from the first try, but you're like, I'm going to retest in December. Cool. We'll super score. And if you don't know what that means, it means we're going to take the best section from every attempt to give you the overall best score possible. So we're going to try to combine your scores to give you the highest overall score. So let's say you don't plan on retesting. We also have a holistic review. We want to know who you are as a student and why. So most of the time, FIU will look at your grades, your test scores, and we'll make a decision. But let's say your grades are great and your test scores don't really meet the criteria. We want to talk to you. We want to know why. So you would then submit an application to our review committee and let us know. You don't have to tell us anything you're not comfortable sharing, but we would definitely want to hear from you, why FIU is a good choice for you, what your goals are, and maybe what happened, like why there's that little lapse, because we are dynamic people. We all live very different lives, and we want to know, what maybe impacted yours. So I do want to make sure that everyone knows the application process is a rolling admissions process. So it'll flow and it'll change. And as you get new results and new information, submit that. It can only help you. And we'll find a path to get you to FIU if you want to come here. That's my job, is to figure out how to get you here. So we're in it together. I do see that there are some questions coming in, so I will definitely get to those. I know that there's going to be a time to do that. So I wanted to give you a general overview of what our campus looks like. It's not this whole picture. Unfortunately, we do not own the entire South Florida. Close though. So basically our campus is, this is our main campus. So this is actually the building I'm in right now. So you guys can wave to me. This is all of our housing. And then you have our medical facilities. This picture is taken very close to like our gym facility, our law building. And then right down here is downtown Miami and the beach. So I just wanted to show you, like, it is a lot of space. There's a lot of students, but there's a place for everyone. It truly is a big campus, and it doesn't mean that you're going to get lost in the sauce and you don't know where you are, but it just means that there's a space for everyone. You can live on campus if you want to. You can study in one of the 3 libraries that we have on our campus. You can be in big groups, you can be in small groups. It really is. I was really intimidated at first. I did go to FIU undergrad and grad school. And at first I was like, who are my people? Like, how am I going to make this work for me? Right. And I figured it out. Like, you get to campus and you're all kind of on the same page. And it's nice because you're with a lot of people who are on the same page as you. It's not a small group. It's a bunch of people who are kind of just trying to figure out what to do next. So it's really great. And it's a nice like community like feeling, which is cool. When you are on campus, inside of those buildings that you saw, you have over 40 restaurants. You have a 3-story rec center. So you can eat at the 40 restaurants and then you can work out. That's not what I did my first year. I gained like 15 pounds, but that's fine because I went to the gym after and I lost it. So we're good. You also have access to things like our ropes course, which will help you with like team building exercises. There's the all-you-can-eat buffet style cafeteria. We have a bookstore on our campus where you can get your textbooks, but you can also just like get recreational books. You can get like gifts. Like it's kind of like a gift shop, but it does have your academic materials in there too. We have 2 pools at FIU, recreational pool and an Olympic-sized pool. We have a tech center. You can get your Mac products, your Dell products, all of that. You get the student rates for them, which is cool. You can even like drop off your phone or whatever there if it breaks. So you truly don't need to leave campus. You should every once in a while because you're in Miami, right? So maybe go explore a little bit. But if you didn't want to, you didn't have to. We have museums here. Like I said, we have the gym. We have a place for you to live. We have a little grocery store, several actually. We even have a star center where you can use like the telescopes and go to star parties, even if you're not in the astroscience facility. They have events on campus where you can just go up into those buildings and and see what they're working on. Use those telescopes. They'll give you snacks and all that. So it's cool. I see a question. I cannot ignore it. Is there a Starbucks? Are you kidding me? How do you think this place functions? Like, there's 4. There are 4 Starbucks, 1 Cafe Bustelo, and another place that's a local Miami place called Vicky's. There's no way that you're gonna have an operating college campus without caffeine. So
also, you're in Miami. It's
well,
not
stop.
Miami without coffee.
Yeah, come on now. Yeah, living life for sure. I'm truly like, sometimes I love that I work on a college campus because I'm like, guys, this is really good. Like everything is here. You really will be living life. I will say that, it can get overwhelming at times because there's a lot of options, but it's like a really good way to be overwhelmed, right? I'd rather be overwhelmed than underwhelmed. So yeah, Miami and its coffee, FIU and its coffee. It's like a culture thing. Actually, like the fun little fact, there's someone in my office that comes around at 3:05, so a couple minutes ago, because that's our area code, and she gives out little coffees, like a little coffee shot every day, 3:05, because 3:05 Miami. So it's like I said, it's in our culture. You guys have good coffee, but we just have a lot of it. So let's talk about scholarships a little bit. I see some questions coming in about CAPE and SATs and IB. That's very, very important to know, and that's going to impact your scholarship eligibility. So let's talk about it. A question I get a lot is, do I need to do CAPE? Do you need to do CAPE? No, not a lot of schools are going to require it. What happens if your school doesn't offer CAPE? Like, there's places that don't follow the Caribbean curriculum. There's no requirement for that. We can't. But should you be doing CAPE? Absolutely. Like we're always going to recommend it. The courses are harder, right? But if you're comfortable doing it and you have the choice, we say that it'll help your GPA. It'll maybe put you a little bit ahead, depending on the courses that you're taking. For instance, communication studies at FIU is going to be English 1101. That's it. When you come into university, you're not taking 1101, which is your first English class. You're going straight into 1102. So you don't have to take it. You don't have to pay for it. You start off in a second semester English class because you did the equivalent already, which is kind of sick. But it also super helps your GPA. I have students coming in who will maybe have like a 3.5, 3.7, but they submit 1 year at CAPE or even unit 2. They end up having 4.2, 4.3, and it's because those courses are hard. They're hard. You're putting a lot of work into it. We weigh them real heavy. So do you need CAPE? No. Should you? Probably, especially if you're looking for scholarships. And a lot of universities are going to echo that sentiment. Is IB required? Not for the most part. If you're doing an IB diploma, some schools are going to require you to complete certain tasks or certain courses within that diploma. But again, if you're taking advanced level coursework, do well, because we weigh it heavier. So if you get a bad grade in an advanced level course, it's going to be a heavy bad grade. So just be mindful of that. In that same breath, I can tell you guys very confidently that most of the time, the students that qualify for presidential or ambassador are coming out of the Caribbean for me. And that's because you guys perform very well. Your curriculum is tough. It's tougher than a domestic curriculum just by default, because you have those advanced level courses in there. So we have a lot of students that'll take the SAT first time and even qualify for ambassador or presidential because you're already used to that content. That content is not new to you. It's just maybe the format of the test is off a little, but you know the stuff. So it's great. Which is why I'm talking to you today, because we find you guys are successful when you get to the university. So presidential scholarships, you're going to want to apply. The first deadline for that passed. I'm hoping they open it up again for spring. It's not guaranteed. But if you meet this criteria, please, please, please keep an eye out. If we have a second round in the spring, make sure your application is complete before then, because we will offer anywhere from 75 to 100% of your tuition for 4 years. That's a really big deal. Not a lot of universities give out a full ride. And it's not like we only have 1 or 2. We give multiple out. And the international students have their own. You're not competing against domestic students, which is also really great. So if you're thinking about FIU, but you're not sure, and you need a scholarship to get in and to continue through to FIU, complete an application. If they open it up for a second round, at least you'll have the option. The longer you wait, the less opportunity you'll have available. So I'm gonna be sharing that information with you, but just this is a general overview. If you feel like any of these might be something that you could qualify for, definitely keep that in mind. We also have a database that offers like anywhere from 200 to 300 scholarships at a time. You can look up keywords: Jamaica, Caribbean, business, international. Truly, there's a scholarship for everything, and I can prove it in one slide. And thank you for sharing the link. I appreciate that. So click on that link. You're going to find lots of information about aid and funding and all of that. But I did want to talk about the Florida Caribbean Linkage Institute. So remember when I told you that database, you could type in keywords. If you type in Caribbean, this is going to come up. Basically, the state of Florida has linkages for all different types of countries and regions throughout the US. And it's because Florida is a really big, supporter of international education. It's something that the state has made a part of our initiatives, right? So every state university in Florida manages one of these linkage institutes. Guess who manages the Caribbean one? Again, FIU, it's fine. What happens is if you are from the Caribbean, if you have a Caribbean passport from one of, if you look at the second bullet point, from one of those countries, you can actually submit an application to have your tuition waived from out of state to in-state. So if you are awarded this waiver, you will be paying in-state tuition. You can do this for any of the public universities in the state of Florida, but that application is actually run by FIU. We run the Caribbean one and we run the Mexico one. So there truly is a lot of opportunity for international students to really, especially from your region, to really afford their education, not only in Florida, but at FIU. Just because our tuition is already pretty affordable, but then on top of that, we're giving you scholarships, we have waivers, there's a lot of things that you have access to that other populations don't. And it's just because of your proximity. And, we've seen that you're successful at our institution. We want to keep it up and we want to make sure you have access to us. So on the fourth bullet point, you'll see the link for that, but I can also share it with you guys later on. I want to make sure that you all know there's options because funding is always a sore point, and we don't want that to be the limitation that's holding you back from an education in the US because, great things can happen if you just have the shot for it. So I wanted to make sure you knew that on top of our general scholarships, there were some things that were real specific for international students. I got a question here about a student who is a US resident but studies in Jamaica. This is only for F1 students. So if you are on an F1 student visa and you have a Caribbean passport, then you can apply for this. Otherwise, if you're a US citizen or permanent resident, you wouldn't need a student visa. And this is for student visa holders. Campus housing, really quickly, we'll run through this so I have some time to maybe go over some of the questions because I see the questions are popping and I love that. My mom got really mad at me when I lived on campus because she said that wasn't real life. She said I was living a life of luxury because my laundry, like my washing machine, texted me when it was done. And she was like, Laura, that's not real. And I knew it wasn't real, but it's just a really great place to be. I don't know what to tell you. She was just very angry. When you live on campus, you have options of living on your own. You can share a space, but all the facilities are new because we're a young institution. So it's a really beautiful housing environment. You can get a meal plan, but most of the spaces other than the freshman halls will have a full kitchen. So you can also not have a meal plan and be fine. All the amenities are included, 24-hour security. And I'm just going to show you kind of an overview of what the rooms look like. So hardwood floor to ceiling windows for the most part. You can either share a room like down here, or you can have your own space like over here. Another thing I always like to mention is you are not sharing a bathroom with your hall. You're sharing a bathroom with the people within your apartment. You can pick who your roommates are. So if you know a couple other people who are coming to FIU, you can just log into the app, select each other, done deal. But one of the big things is there's no communal bathrooms, which is nice. You're really truly treated as an adult. This is your apartment. You're sharing a bathroom with one, maybe two other people. That's about it. So that's also a really, really big incentive to live on campus. Everybody wants to live on campus. There's always a wait list. I get it because I loved it. My mom hated it, but not me. So if you are interested in living on campus, you would have to make sure you apply as soon as it becomes available. Once you're admitted, you would then apply for a housing on campus. And as a part of your FIU experience, we want to make sure that you're taking advantage of the cool things outside of the classroom, right? We're a Division I institution, so we have lots of Division I sports, which is fun because you don't have to be an athlete to enjoy that. You can actually just go to the games. Like I used to go to the soccer games when I was a student, and it was so fun. I'm like, I am not a soccer player, but I love watching you guys be good at this. Like it is an experience in and of itself. You get the university like vibe. I don't know. It's really fun. People are so hype about it. And it's really nice to just support your peers because they're not professional athletes. Like those are your peers. They're your age. They're probably in your classes. They're one of or two of them will likely be in your major. Like those are your peers. So it's really, really cool to see that. We're one of the few institutions in the state that has all of the facilities on campus: basketball, baseball, soccer, swimming. All of that is on our campus. So if you live here or if you're an international student in the area, you really don't need to commute in order to get to some of those on-campus activities. In that middle slide here, you'll have some of like our more recreational events, like our concerts. You know, we have Reggae Fest at the Bay. We have our EDM concert in the summer. We have like a more alternative like rock concert as well. Then we have the hip hop festival. So we have a little bit of something for everybody. We've had like Ty Dolla $ign, Kid Cudi, Tiesto. We've had Calvin Harris, Miguel. So lots of cool people have come to FIU and perform. It's not hard to get people to come to Miami, honestly. So, I mean, that's the truth of it. So you're going to have really, really good events all year round. And if you wanted to go Greek or even do something like join an equestrian team or a student government association, we have it all. I know we keep getting that question about gymnastics. We don't have it as a D1 sport, but we do have it as like a club sport or a competitive sport, but not necessarily D1. So this is for a little bit later on, but if you are admitted, there's going to be a couple things that you need to submit in order for you to prepare yourself to go for your visa interview to be ready for that process. And we're going to help you through that point up until you actually have to book your appointment. My advice to you, just generally, if you're looking at education in the US at all, you can get admitted and not have to commit right away. Make sure, you know, like if you get admitted, you're not committing to something if you're not sure. Make sure you get all that done sooner rather than later, because it's going to be a process now to, you know, start getting your documents in order, scheduling your visa appointments. We don't want delays in paperwork to be the reason why you don't show up to campus in the fall or in the spring or in the summer. That should not be the reason why, because, you know, we're here to help you. You have a resource to get through that. So I always want to make that very clear, like, ask questions, you know, when do I need to submit this by? What do you recommend? What are the deadlines? Those are important questions to ask because we want to make sure that you're ready to go come time for the start of the term. You shouldn't have to be worrying about, will I be able to make it to Florida? You should be worried about like, oh my God, what are my classes going to be like? That's what should be on your mind, not actually going through immigration. We want to make sure that that's not a problem. So we'll talk about that later on when you get into the actual enrollment process, but things to keep in mind. You know, start thinking about your financial documents, ask those questions, like what needs to be on there. Ask about your immunizations, ask your family members, you know, where are my immunization records, where are all those things? We're going to need all of it. Where you can contact us. So our student workers are actually on chat. You can chat with them on our website. You can go, our Instagram is really the easiest way to contact us, if I'm going to be honest, because you could just DM me and it's on my phone, so I'll answer. It's a lot easier than an email. I know nobody likes email, but I do. But if you wanted to talk to us through DM, you could. And now I think it's time to answer some questions, right? We have a couple minutes left.
All right. Thank you, Laura. So we have several questions for you. So we have a question from Kiana. Does FIU offer a joint bachelor's and MD program? If so, what is the duration of the program?
So no, for medical school in general, if you're not a US citizen, it is going to be a little bit more competitive because fewer institutions in the US will accept international students to med school. So that's number one. If you're looking for a joint program, make sure the program that you're looking into admits international students to the medical part of that program. FIU doesn't have a joint program period because Our medical school is quite competitive. So that means anybody that was in our BS program may be eligible. And that's just, there's not enough space in our med school for that. So we don't currently have that joint program. But it's very common for students to do a degree, like a bachelor's of science in biology, psychology, chemistry, and then go on to medical school elsewhere. You can start at FIU and then do another med school. You also don't have to do it all in the same institution. In fact, most people don't.
Cool, cool, cool. Is there a fee waiver for the application?
Good question. So in the state of Florida, there is not a fee waiver for international students. So right now we do not have a fee waiver at the undergraduate level. Grad school, maybe. So if you talk to a department, you might be able to get one, but public universities in Florida, for the most part, will not be able to waive the app fee for international students.
All right, good to know. Thank you. All right, next question for clarification. If you are a Caribbean student, do you need CAPE and SAT to be eligible for admissions, or are CAPE scores alone acceptable?
Good question, and worded very well. So CAPE is not required, SAT will be. So you could do CSEC and ACT or SAT, or CAPE and SAT and ACT, but there's no getting out of the SAT, ACT. So you're gonna need that for any of the public universities in Florida, including FIU.
Okay, so hear that, guys. Study hard for the SAT. By the way, we have free SAT virtual classes at the US Embassy. Yes, had to drop that in.
Take advantage of that. That's nice. Don't sleep on that.
Okay. All right, so I think this is my same fee waiver friend. If you take part in sports, is there a fee waiver?
No, there's very few ways in which you can get your app fee waived.
No fee waiver, my friend. All right. What are the requirements for the nursing program?
Nursing is actually a limited access program, so that's a great question. You're going to need the same requirements to get into any program at the undergraduate level as a freshman. So you have to meet the freshman criteria, which is, you know, the better you do on the SAT or ACT, the more leverage we give you or leniency you get PA. So one will support the other. I can't tell you like a cut score because it depends on you. Like your SAT will determine your GPA and so on and so forth. I will say, in your second year going to third for nursing, if you don't have like at least the 3.0 and at least certain courses that you've completed at that point, they will likely not allow you to declare your major as nursing because it's that competitive. So if you are a nursing student, you can get in, you know, just like everyone else, but you have to do well the whole way through. There's no slacking for nursing students.
Yep, I agree. All right. So next question, are there any special requirements for engineering students for engineering courses?
For admission, it's very much, every program is going to have the same admissions requirements at the undergraduate freshman level. It's getting into the university, is proving that you are college ready. Because people change their minds, right? So we're not going to have somebody who's interested in engineering go through all of these extra steps. And then later on, what happens if they change their major to like art? So it's very much proving like, hey, you know, I've met the threshold for college readiness. Like I'm going to be a really great student at FIU no matter what I do. And then if you decide on engineering as a path, they'll make sure that they prepare you by the time you get to those tough courses. You would have had the prerequisites out of the way throughout your program.
All right, so key thing is to get in, my friend. All right, next question. Does CAPE transfer into college credits?
Excellent question, and it does. I'm actually going to send you the link to show you exactly what courses transfer in, what CAPE courses transfer into what FIU courses. So I'm putting that in the chat for you. And it does. So it'll save you time, it'll save you money. For instance, I know that there's like a chemistry one. If you take that and pass, like and pass, like FIU is really good about what pass means. You'll get Chem 1, Chem 2, the lab for Chem 1 and the lab for Chem 2. That's like 8 credits. It's insane. But when every credit costs like 600 US, that's a lot of money you've just saved yourself, and a lot of time. So I would highly recommend you looking into how your CAPE courses will transfer over into university credit.
Mhm. All right, study hard for CAPE, guys. All
All right,
right.
guys, do it.
Speaking of tests and scores, what is the minimum SAT that FIU would accept?
Ooh, okay. So minimum, that's tough because depends on your GPA. I'm always going to say that. I can tell you a good, like a solid, comfortable SAT is a 1200. If you're at a 1200, that's pretty comfortable. Even slightly lower than that, I might be able to work with you if your GPA is strong. I would say try not to fall too far below that.
All right, fair enough. In the medical program, do students get the opportunity to travel to different countries to study?
If they'd like to, yeah, if they'd like to.
Right.
Like if you are in a medical, if you have the ability to join our medical program, then the option is there for you to do something like being a doctor abroad. You have it, but it's getting into our medical school. That blessings to you.
That's the key. That's the key. All right. Okay, so next question. Is a portfolio required for architecture or any art-related program?
As well. These are great questions.
I'm telling you, they're on it.
What is this? Okay, I'm like working. Okay, so for architecture, what they'll do is they'll look at your academic coursework. It's one of the few programs that'll actually sit down and like look at the courses and the classes you've taken. And if they have any questions or if they need a little bit more of information, they will tell you to submit a portfolio. They might not always tell you to submit a portfolio, but they'll let you know if that's necessary for admission. So you could be admitted to the university and not into the architecture program fully. You could be like pre-architecture until that portfolio is submitted, just so they kind of know where your level is. It doesn't mean you won't get in. It just means they need to figure out what drawing courses to put you in to start. Same with art. So it's not necessarily going to hurt you because you are admissible to the institution. It's just making sure that you're supported throughout the art program. So it might be required. Yeah, the answer is might.
Okay, all right. Okay, we have a wonderful question here. Let me take my time and read through it. I'm unable to do the SAT until next year, March, which would cause the results to be released on the 25th. But I read that all documents are to be submitted by the 18th. How would I go about that in terms of applying? So I'm guessing all the documents are due on March 18th. I'm guessing that's what you're asking, my friend. So what approach should they take in that situation?
Oh, and that, that's something that we've been dealing with, especially since the start, I guess, of the pandemic, is access to testing centers. And, that's across the state of Florida too. That's an issue for all institutions. I would say make sure your application is complete otherwise. So have your transcripts in, have your application complete other than those missing SAT scores. Our website tells you we'll accept the last SAT. The last SAT we'll accept is going to be in this month or this month, right? They'll tell you ACT from February, SAT from March, but that could change. And you don't want your incomplete application to be the reason why you're, you missed out on an opportunity. So if you can take the March exam, do it, and we'll do our best to make sure that you're considered for admission because that was the only option you had available. But also make sure while you're working towards that March exam, your other parts of your application is complete because you're going to have time to do that. But I would still encourage you to apply because where there's a will, there's a way. We can figure it out.
Cool. Thank you for that. All right. So next question. Is there a FIU campus in DC?
There is. There absolutely
Wow,
is.
there you go.
Look at that.
Right,
so
look at that.
The FIU campus in DC, yeah, it's awesome. Like DC used to be one of the territories that I did these presentations for, and visiting that campus is really cool. It was a really special space, I think, because it's cool to be able to be an international relations major and have the access to go to Washington, DC and be an IR major. It's one way of doing it in Miami. You're in a multicultural city, really diverse, close to Latin America, the Caribbean. It's another thing to be in international relations, political science, even an art major or like a sociology major in the nation's capital, right? So you're getting access to a different population. So you're learning art, but from a different view. You're learning economics from a different view, or political science or IR, all from a different lens because you've been exposed to this new environment. So we do have one there. Lots of cool internship programs come in and out of there, and it's right near the Capitol building. So it's beautiful.
That's so awesome. All right. Last question. What if you wanted to do dance? Would you need to send a portfolio as well? I'm guessing they mean an audition tape.
Yeah, so if you wanted to be part of our dance team, which is called the Dazzlers, then you absolutely would need to audition. You wouldn't, I'm not sure if they'll take they might take videos to start. You would have to appear in person because our dancers perform at events. So you can't really do that virtually, but it's not a major. So we don't have dance as a major. So you would do something else, like you would be admitted to the university, and that would be almost like if you were a student athlete, right? You would try out or try to walk onto that dance team, just like any other athlete would try to walk onto a team that already exists at the institution. You could submit like an audition tape, but most of the time they're going to have open tryouts for you. So that wouldn't really be necessary.
Okay, cool stuff. I see one more question popping in. Can I send my transcripts after I submit my application?
Great question. So the application is kind of like a bookshelf. When you build it, you don't always have stuff to fill it right away. Submit the application, and as things become available, as you start getting those items, you add them to the application. Every time we see it considered as complete, we're going to take a look. So let's say you have it complete. We look at it and we admit you to summer. Great. But you take the SAT again and you submit it, and that's a fall SAT score. We're going to look at it again, and then we might put you into fall instead. Every time your application has an update, we're going to take a look at it. So submit what you have, and then add your transcripts later if they become available later. Add your SAT later if they become available later.
Okay, so the key thing is to start the application. So start today, guys. All right. One last question. What if I would like to do a design minor with a business management major?
Yeah. What's stopping you? I think, and I think you can agree, Jody, that this is like one of the really unique things about being at a U.S. institution or education in the U.S. in general is that it's really moldable. The type of educate, like your educational career is moldable. If you want to have a degree in business with a minor in design, do it. You don't have to say something when you're 18 and stick to it all the way through. You're allowed to pick up a minor, a certificate, a double major, and you are, like I've mentioned before, you're dynamic, unique human beings. You have multiple interests. I knew somebody who did biology and journalism, and I'm like, girl, what are you doing? And I was like, this doesn't make sense. But she ended up writing for a medical journal. And I was like, okay, I guess it does make sense. Like, you get the biology, you have the writing skill set. So if you like design, like interior architecture, design, graphic design, whatever it is, but you also want to get a degree in business, do it. Just let your academic advisor know, because we don't want you to take more time than you need to take to get it done. There's ways to go about that in a timely fashion.
Awesome. Okay, I see a couple questions sliding in, and then we have to let Laura go, guys, because there's a storm coming, and I'm sure she has to get prepared. Do you offer sports management as a bachelor's degree?
We do. It's recreation sports management, and
oh, cool.
It's all on our general website, so I can share that with you guys too.
Awesome stuff. And then next question: will the GRE be waived for next year?
For graduate students, it depends on the program. I would absolutely hope so.
Email the program. Yeah, I would reach out. My friend who's interested in the GRE, I'd reach out to the program directly.
Most of them are.
Yeah. Are double majors available? I think we know the answer for that.
All of them. Do it up.
All right, guys. So let's check the chat. Laura's going to share some links or a link with you.
And
Oh, wow. I want to pursue architecture, computer science, animation, and graphic design. Okay, that's right.
Gonna have a lot of electives.
You're
That's what's
gonna
gonna
have
happen.
you're gonna have a lot of sleepless nights, but you're talented and brilliant. So go at it.
So if you click on the link I just shared, you'll see you'll see all of our bachelor's, master's, doctoral programs, all the minors,
Awesome
all the
stuff.
majors, and you'll see who to contact and what the admissions requirements are for every program.
There you go. Thank you. All right. So guys, there a lot of reading today. Yes, indeed, Emily, a lot of reading. Well, thank you so much, Laura. Please stay safe. I see here it's I've checked the weather report. It says you should bring your boats in. So
Yeah, I'm not even joking. It's wild.
Bring your yacht in, you know.
I'm gonna have to go over. I'm gonna go over and grab it.
All right. Stay safe, my friend. Thank you so much. And thank you to our audience. And guys, start, get cracking. Don't delay. Okay. All right.
Thank you guys for having me. Thank you.